So I'm going to officially start us off. Are we good to go, Tanya?
Yes,
we're good to go.
Welcome. So I'm going to officially start us off. Are we good to go, Tanya?
yes,
We're good to go.
Welcome, everybody. Hi, my name is Lois E. Devine. I'm Chief Juicer because I help women squeeze the best out of life. And I am thrilled to be able to showcase one of Canada's top women leaders and a thought leader for leadership for women. My guest today is Tania Clarke. She's the CFO of Imvescor, a restaurant group of all the favorite places you take your family. And I'm thrilled to have her on the call today. She's a mom, she's an aunt, she has fur babies, and she's the mom of a turtle. And she's very active. And I'm thrilled to have her here with us today. So welcome, Tania.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, I just lost your audio.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Not so great.
Oh, okay. Let's try. I'm turning up the volume.
Did you mute yourself on the video? Thank heavens for editing tools.
No. Oh.
On Zoom on the bottom left, there you go. Now I should be able to hear you by voice only. Nope. Are you plugged into your phone? We did work all this out in rehearsal. Andrea will attest to that, right, Andrea?
Definitely.
There we go. Oh no, that was you. Okay, unmute yourself on video, on Zoom on the bottom left-hand corner, and we'll go with what we can.
Okay, I'm.
Nothing. Unmute. Okay, so when you scroll your mouse down to the bottom of the screen, that toolbar will pop up, and it's got the microphone in the left-hand corner. Don't mute yourself. Unmute. Okay, there we go.
Oh my goodness, but my screen's falling. There you go.
Okay, and I really need you to speak loud because I'm going to miss all your answers otherwise. I don't know why it's not coming through as loud as you were.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, I'll try.
So just project like you're a football field.
I will do my best.
All right, thank you, beautiful. For our listeners joining us for the first time, She Suite is a new Canadian initiative that I founded and I lead in the hopes of reflecting that change that top women in Canada are making in business today. My mission is to interview 150 top women in their industry, and the goals of the interviews is to come up with a checklist of tools, success tools and tips and strategies in 3 different areas. One area is, the goal is to arm high potentials for senior leadership with a healthy mindset, communication strategies for difficult situations, and healthy habits overall that will empower them and their ability to raise their confidence, their performance, and their productivity. The second area these tips and tools and strategies are going to help with is the mandate most senior leaders have. They're expected to carry out increased performance, improved retention, and improve the revenue. And the third area is all about strategies that will help corporations and enterprises build a She-Suite friendly culture. So one that encourages healthy leaders and a sustainable development plan and a place that attracts, keeps, and nurtures She-Suite people so that they can thrive. Let's start with the first piece, which is really the intrinsic piece, Tania. We have participants in today's session that are new to leadership. What do you have to do as a new, young, aspiring leader to prepare specifically as a woman for that role?
So, I mean, picking on what I did, I focused on qualifying myself, getting the knowledge, seeking advice from more senior individuals, communicated clearly, used intuition as a guide, your emotional intelligence,
absolutely,
remained curious, and continually sought tasks and experiences, courses where I was stretched so that I could develop myself to the maximum.
So you worked on you constantly by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You also have to find your voice and confidently express your opinions, recommendations, thoughts. And I think finally, you know, I'm a person that likes a lot on the go. And this helps tremendously as you move up the ranks. My underlying principle is really to treat people how you want to be treated. This will always guide us well, in my opinion.
I love that philosophy. And I think it's important to constantly be feeding it because it's like any other muscle in our system, right? It's not going to grow if we're not working it. And that makes me think, Stephen Covey talks a lot. I use him as kind of my guide in leadership. And what he talks a lot about is the importance of sharpening the saw. The idea that we need to continuously nourish the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the social to be our best. So I'm curious, you mentioned constantly learning and growing. What other healthy habits have you adopted either daily, weekly, yearly, in any of those four areas that Covey spells out that helped you be your best as a woman in a senior leadership role, Tania?
Well, I believe what Covey is saying is correct. You need to be healthy on all those levels to be able to deliver, whether it's on a corporate side or at home with your family. So physical exercise is key. I mean, without your health, you're going nowhere. So it's easy to let go of the exercise, but you've got to find balance, and you've got to try to fit it in, whether it's small amounts of exercise or large. And feed your mental with reading, exploring, learning, meeting new people, get community involved. Sorry. Spiritually, I mean, it depends on your religious belief, but seek out that information because that tends to give you peace and helps you to ground yourself in all of the turmoil and the chaos. And well, socially, I mentioned, you know, be community involved. It's in my DNA. I grew up with community involvement through my parents, and I believe it's a great way to give back to your community, stay involved, meet very interesting people out of your corporate realm, and you learn and you grow.
Oh, and you mean
all about growth.
You never have encountered any other way, right?
Right. Correct.
Excellent advice. And as the mom of fur babies, two big dogs, you get lots of reasons to physically get out of the house, don't you?
I do, but the dogs probably don't think I don't walk them enough, but yes.
There you go. Well, most experts tell us that when we align ourselves with something bigger than us, and Maslow talked about that as well, right? The need for human beings to connect to something that's bigger than us, that makes a difference in the world. And it's one of the correlations of highly successful people. So I know that you have something very near and dear to your heart. I would love you to share with everybody a little bit about the two causes that are near and dear to your heart and what people can do if it's also near and dear to their heart.
Absolutely. So there's two causes I'm involved in. One I've been involved in since 2001. It's called the Games for Hope Foundation. It's a foundation that supports charities with serving the needs of kids. And they do one corporate event per year, and it's held in Montreal. And we have raised, since 2001, $1.5 million.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, the charity contribution rate is between 85 and 90%, which is exceedingly high. And that's because it's a group of dedicated volunteers coming back year in and year out, as well as companies that donate services, also give sponsorships to make this a fantastic annual event. So it's going to be held this year on June 17th at the Montreal Training Center in the South Shore by Discount.
Excellent.
Yeah. And the second charity is the Trevor Williams Kids Foundation. So I know Trevor Williams personally from way back, and just recently began to support him. This is a foundation that believes that you should use sports in order to teach kids learning skills, the ability to cope. They offer mentoring programs, bullying programs, sports basketball camps. I mean, Trevor Williams is a local here, and he has a lot of community support, but obviously these two charities always need more, so donate money, time, come out and support. They're fantastic.
So Trevor Williams and Gangs of Hope.
Yes, correct.
Well, I have a question. I mean, the question blaring through my mind, and probably a lot of the listeners, is, oh my gosh, how do you do it all? Is there a price to pay for doing it all? There's an old adage that says you can have anything your heart's desire if you're willing to work hard enough and you're willing to pay the price. Is there a price?
Well, you know, I do agree that if you work hard, you will get the ROI, the return on investment. So I wouldn't term it a price, but more of an investment in self. So nothing comes easy in life, and I think it's getting harder with globalization, job sharing, companies cutting costs. So you need to look at it as an investment in you. And I am a person that likes to do a lot, and so I don't necessarily see it as a sacrifice, but if you did say, you know, at points in time in my career where I had to invest a lot of time, I sacrificed time with family, friends, downtime, alone time with myself. But however, on a long-term view, that was my investment horizon, the ins and the outs, and I'm benefiting.
Forgive me, Tanya.
That's okay.
I was going to say, when we're doing something we love, it doesn't feel like work either, does it?
No.
It can actually energize us often.
Yeah.
All right.
If you're lucky.
Pardon?
If you're lucky to find what you love, absolutely. But you should always go seek that out.
Absolutely.
Right?
Critical piece. Good advice. Let's move into the second piece of the pie. All leaders, men and women, in very senior roles are held accountable for 3 universal mandates, regardless of the industry. One, how do we improve our overall revenue? Another is, how do we improve the retention? Or in other words, how do we hold on to top talent? And last, in a world, just as you mentioned, where we're constantly seeking increase, and that happens with increase of silos, job sharing, remote workers, global expansion. How do we improve overall performance? So my specific question is, how do women achieve these particular mandates differently than their male colleagues in similar positions?
Well, I'll be concise. I mean, there are exceptions to everything, but I believe our inherent maternal side and female intuition allows us to bring holistic solutions to business issues and matters. This ties into our emotional intelligence, which we should always continually hone, because it plays a role in a strategic landscape, always. It's the human relation that bears it out. As we move up the ranks, the soft skills become even more important, because you've built the foundation, that you've got the knowledge base. And hopefully you're always out there seeking the information you need. So it comes down to soft skills, relating to people. I mean, I still have to balance between the firm, results-oriented focus one would expect from a senior role, but I'm also able to bring to bear the nurturing aspect on the development growth of my staff, myself, my colleagues. It's all about team.
And that's a lot of nurturing, right?
Yes, yes it is.
Nurturing. You mentioned intuition, and I find that really interesting. That particular question, what do women do differently in business, always provokes some interesting conversation at the retreat I lead. My colleague Lee Brovdani and I lead a retreat. It's a women's empowerment retreat down in Punta Cana. Because you know, you can find yourself so much easier at the beach with margaritas. and what we talk about this fall, in fact, was the power that we found when we started listening to our own intuition. As a young professional, I tended to tune that out and said, I need to be more logical. And in fact, it's so refreshing to hear C-suite leaders say, no, you need to tap into that, baby. That's powerful. So thank you for affirming that. I appreciate that. Okay, so now let's talk about what corporations and enterprises, just like yours, have to do in order to be a corporate culture where C-suite can thrive. I was really disappointed. How this whole movement took off was I was chairing a women's leadership forum in Toronto last year, and we had someone from Catalyst stand up, and I was tweeting sound bites all day that she was sharing. And so she threw up a slide and it said that 5.6% of C-suite members and executive board members are women. And I went to tweet it and thought, that's got to be wrong, 5.6%. And no, in fact, it's right. And so that's what kind of catalysted this whole, pardon the pun, this whole movement. When I looked into it further, they shared some pretty astounding other statistics. One is that 92% of women who participated in this particular study thought that there should be more women in those positions. We all present feel that, or we wouldn't be here listening. 28% of men who participated, and these are senior leaders, thought it was just fine. We didn't need any more women in the C-suite. So I guess my question is, why do you think so few men want more women in C-suite positions? Why?
So I think some still have that macho ideology where they put us in a box and they see us at a certain level in organization. Despite much research and empirical evidence on the value of diversity, it is much easier to continue to work with like-minded, similar people than to have to deal with divergent opinions and perspectives, even for those who do not have that macho mindset. So I think it's ingrained. And, you know, even things as inane as a bathroom conversation that helps to help a deal or a transaction go through, you can't go in there. You can be on the golf course, but you can't be in the men's bathroom or in certain other areas. So I think that hinders us.
Gets in our way. We're going to have to make some more noise. As you say, find a
Absolutely.
All right. So is there a difference, a huge difference? I understand what you're saying about the difference of where conversations happen. What about motive? Is there a difference between the genders? Do they want the same things in life and in work professionally as women do? Everybody wants to work in an environment that's respectful and that they're fairly compensated.
Yes.
Are there other elements that are important only to women in particular that corporate cultures maybe need to tune into?
So what I found in discussing with my fellow C-suiters or VPs, I think women, we still want the position, the power, the impact of that role, that title can give. But what I find I hear them speaking a lot about is a recognition or the lack of recognition of the need for balance. And I mean, at certain stages, we know that these roles come later on in our career. You may have caregiving needs, your parents, because we're sandwiched between parents and children. And a lot of that still falls on the woman, generally speaking. And maybe you don't feel you have that latitude at that senior level to be able to say, I need a breath. I've got to take care of this. And they feel the pressure because it took so long to get there, or a hard rise, to be able to say, I need to scale back. That's one thing that stands out the most.
Well, and you're a mom of a 19 and a 16-year-old girl, very busy girls, if they're anything like a mom. My kids are 31, 27, and please breathe with me, 13.
Oh,
so as much as you're right, we tend to hit those C-suite positions, CFO, CEO, COO, those senior leadership positions, maybe when our children are later or grown later in our life, but then that's not always true. You've got people like me who restarted or start a family later, or just plain 19 and 16, they still need us a lot, don't they?
Absolutely, they sure do.
Little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems sometimes, right?
So one point I want to say is that I think one of our characteristics as women is that we have the ability to be fluid. Because we occupy different roles, daughter, mother, colleague, friend, and we're able to switch back and forth, we should draw on our fluidity. So be assertive when you need to be, defer when you can't, be able to say, it's too much today, I gotta go home, I gotta go to the gym, I gotta take a rest. So use your fluidity with your flexibility. Obviously, this comes easier when you're at a higher level and you can control your time a little bit better than when you're rising in your ranks. But it's still important to keep that close and come back to being healthy, physically and mentally.
Sure, because that sucks a huge amount out of our week if we are suffering from an illness, suffering from an injury, any of those things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fluid is my new favorite word. I love
I like that word.
That's exactly what we are. We're water, and water is never like this, right? It just fills in gaps wherever gaps.
Always moving.
I love that word.
Absolutely.
Kudos. All right, so this is the part of the show that we open the lines up to participants. So if you have a question, you have two options. In fact, I'm going to ask you to use one option. Down at the bottom of your screen in the center is a little bubble, like the cartoons, and it says chat. So click that, and you're welcome to type a question that you might have for Tania into the chat box. Nancy, our admin, will be able to tell us what those questions are, pose them to Tania, and give Tania a chance to give us some insight. So please go ahead and chat. And Nancy, can you unmute yourself? Because I don't think we hear you.
I am here.
Thank you. Good to have you here. Do we have any questions in our chat box for Tania?
No, not as of right now. I will say that that was a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed that, Tania. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm so happy to have been invited. It's an honor. Thank
Tania,
you, Glennis.
I have a question, and it comes from a Rosemere High School student. I was recently doing a human library where they come in and they take books that are actually parents off the shelf and ask them questions. And I said, I'm hosting this telesummit. What are some of the things you'd like to ask? And they said, they always say famous people have role models, and they talk about the important people in their life. So I'm going to pass that question along. Do you have a favorite role model in your life?
Well, I have a few. But those that know me very well, I have role models within my family. I had a grandmother that was super strong, faced a lot of personal hurdles, but was able to take care of 12 kids, build a house, and educate all of her 12.
Holy!
She was phenomenal. Of course, there's the standards. Michelle Obama is one. Oprah Winfrey, absolutely. And there are more. I can't name them off top, but they're strong women who have success in their respective fields and that are authentic. Authenticity is absolutely important. Because too many female leaders try to emulate men. That's not good. Stay true to self, be authentic, and treat people as you want to be treated, and you will be successful. Oh, and know when it's time to move on. We, as females, tend to be more complacent. We take, we accept, and sometimes signs are there. I'm talking to your intuition. When it's time to either ask for a change in job, ask for a raise, or realize that where you're at today is not good for you. It's not feeding you. It's not developing. You're not learning. Time to go.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point. You said complexity. I think sometimes it's loyalty too that trips us up. Women are extremely loyal and sometimes stay in roles longer than they need to be in the role because the role seems to need them, right?
Because I think they think so, and we probably have more fear of the unknown, of change. We want the stability. Now, of course, I'm generalizing. Not everybody is that way, but the ladies I speak to tend to be more on that profile. And we need to kick ourselves. We need to seek out our mentors, colleagues, people you can trust that can perhaps see your situation objectively and listen to their advice. Apply, maybe not, maybe delay, but think about it. You owe it to yourself.
Pardon me?
You owe it to yourself.
I agree wholeheartedly. I listened to a speaker on women leadership, and she said, you know, a job posting comes up, a movement upwards, and a man has, say, 4 out of the 10 qualifications and says, I could do that. A woman has 9 out of the 10 and says, oh, I better not put my hat in the ring because I don't have everything it takes. So I hear what you're saying. We do need to give ourselves a kick, don't we?
And the one thing I do want to say too, perfection doesn't exist.
Yay!
Nobody is perfect.
No.
Perfect, sorry. And learn from your mistakes. Mistakes are required. Once you learn from them, you won't repeat it, you'll be stronger, and you'll do better next time. But perfection is an unrealistic goal. It's not feasible.
That's a message I think all of our gender needs to hear over and over and over again. Very wise words. Thank you.
Well, we set ideals. You got to be gorgeous. You got to be like
Slim.
You got to be smart, slim. You got to achieve. You got to be the perfect mom, baking, cooking, all of that stuff. Soccer mom. And you know what? You're going to stretch too thin, and something will give, and it'll be yourself.
Well, and the truth is, we can't serve if we're dead or blue trying, right? Good advice. Nancy, do we have anything to add?
I have a question. It's been a couple of years since I was in the boardroom, and I left for the same reasons that you're talking about. Was just at a certain point after several years, I realized that it wasn't serving me. Promotions that had been promised, and I had met the objectives. Were getting pushed further into the future, and I just felt the writing was on the wall, and I left and I started my own business. And I was wondering and I don't have any regrets about that. And there's part of me that wished I could have either found a better company or work there. And I'm just wondering if what you're seeing, are some women still opting out to start their own businesses because the game just doesn't work for them?
Absolutely. And I think and it's a good reason to do it. So you shouldn't look back. No regrets, right? You made a choice.
I just feel that they're losing good women.
Yes, but it's their loss.
Yeah,
and you will take your energy, your smarts, and funnel it into your business. And you and your family will reap the benefits. So unfortunately, yes, that's a cause or a result of not being open-minded and hiring, developing, mentoring women. And I think that the exchanges, the dialogues, the transactional flow will be negatively impacted without having more women around the table.
Oh, and the world gets a dynamic new woman entrepreneur on the market.
Yeah.
Thank you. I so appreciate, I love your enthusiasm. I love your energy. I've said that. I love that smile. Thank you so much for being willing to share your expertise, your experience, your insight today with us. Let's tie it all up. What I usually try to encourage people to do is a wow. So within 1 week. As a corporate trainer, I usually ask people at the end of the day when they're ready to go home and the cat and the kids want a piece of them, instead, what's one thing they can do within 1 week to make an impact on what they got out of today. So I'm going to ask the same thing. We have a lot of listeners who will tune into this interview who are junior leaders. What's one thing they can do, Tanya, right away to help move themselves a little bit closer to the goal of leadership, senior leadership?
Be ready for all opportunities. Stay curious. Challenge yourself. Get out your comfort zone. And I mean, I'll refer to my answer to question 1. Do that. Do all of those.
Awesome. And for top women, just like you, what do you feel is important for them to focus on to continue to make a difference in C-suite today?
Be authentic. Treat people as you want to be treated. Hire, develop, mentor, and promote women.
Awesome answer. And finally, what's the best first step a company can make to start to create a corporate culture where women can thrive?
So it has to align, right? So they have to have programs that are actively going to hire women, develop them, mentor them, and promote them.
Excellent. And somehow find a way the bathrooms have speakers or something. All right.
Yes.
Listeners, please tune in tomorrow at 12:10 when I interview thought leader Tammy Sweeney, who is the CEO of Women in Leadership and Business Conference, coming up very soon, May 28th. Stay tuned to she.ca for a list of all the thought leaders. On LinkedIn, please feel free to join our group, She-Suite, on LinkedIn, where you can get updates of all the telesummits and the recordings of a call just like today, and upcoming events in your city. Speaking of events, if you've absolutely adored Tanya's energy as much as I have and want some more, you can have it. If you're in Montreal, come meet her in person. She's one of the thought leaders leading a table at Food for Thought. Information's on the website. It's a think tank with a delicious dinner on the plateau. And it's Wednesday, May 17th, the Bistro Entrepot. Tickets are selling out. There are only 28 seats in the restaurant, 7 tables of 4 think tanks with a C-suite member at each table. So get your tickets today, shesuite.ca. This brings our show to a close. Thank you again, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
Listeners for tuning in. And please join me in thanking Tanya, CFO Imvescor, for graciously sharing all of your expertise and being a wonderful femme extraordinaire. I adore you.
Thank you.
CA, where top Canadian women are changing.